Do you remember your mother's hands? Hands chapped by chemicals, stained with the smell of grease or fish sauce. Hands that worked relentlessly, 12 hours, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. And do you remember your father's back? Hunched over from the burden, coming home in the middle of the night when the whole city was fast asleep. They did all of that for one single reason: so that we could have a better life. They sacrificed their health, their youth, and their own dreams to lay a foundation for us in a foreign land. But there is a painful paradox that we rarely dare to speak aloud. Why is it that our Vietnamese community, famous around the world for its diligence and entrepreneurial spirit, still feels so financially insecure? Why is it that after 20 or 30 years in America, Canada, or Australia, many families are still living paycheck to paycheck? We earn money, but we struggle to build wealth. Today, we are going to unpack 5 financial habits, 5 invisible cultural scripts that are holding us back. This is not a video of judgment. This is a confession, a moment of understanding, and perhaps the first step toward healing our intergenerational financial trauma. To understand the present, we must return to the past. Our financial story didn't begin when we landed at the airport. It began with historical trauma: war, instability, hyperinflation, and painful migrations. Our parents and grandparents watched wealth disappear overnight. In their world, banks could collapse and currency could become worthless. Trust was a luxury. That forged a core mindset, the survival mindset. This mindset prioritizes absolute safety, tangible assets, and short-term control. It helped our families survive the darkest of times, and we must be grateful for that. But when we bring that survival mindset into a modern financial system, a system designed for optimization and long-term growth, those old strategies become barriers. It's like trying to navigate a modern city using an old, tattered paper map. That map doesn't show the highways, investments, the new bridges, credit, or the skyscrapers, compound interest. We are stuck in a conflict between the past and the future, and this conflict manifests in the following 5 habits. Habit 1. The survival mindset trap and the fear of risk. Cash is king. Gold is the safe haven. To the older generation, safety was what they could see and touch. This leads to a habit I call the savings trap. We save aggressively. That is a virtue. But the problem is, we only save. We don't invest. In the minds of many Vietnamese, the stock market is gambling. A 401k is something overly complicated and untrustworthy. They would rather keep money in a savings account with near zero interest, or worse, under the mattress. But here is the hard truth of the modern economy. If you do not invest, inflation will eat away at your assets every single day. Your money is silently evaporating. The survival mindset taught us how to protect the seeds, but it didn't teach us how to plant them in the fertile soil of modern investing. Ironically, the overwhelming fear of risk has become the biggest risk of all. By trying to stay perfectly safe, we have forfeited growth. Habit 2. The unbounded immigrant tax. This is perhaps the most sensitive and painful topic: filial piety. Vietnamese culture highly values respect and responsibility for the extended family. That is the beauty of our community. When one person makes it abroad, they carry the expectations of an entire clan. And so begins the immigrant tax, the obligation to send money home, supporting parents, helping siblings, sponsoring nieces and nephews, fixing the house, covering medical bills. The list seems endless. We do it out of love, but it comes at a very high cost. This duty severely erodes our ability to build an emergency fund, invest for retirement, or save for our own future. And then we fall into the state of the sandwich generation. We are trapped in the middle. On one side, the pressure to raise our own children in an expensive society. On the other, the responsibility to care for aging parents and support the extended family. The deepest wound isn't just the money, it's the guilt. You feel guilty if you try to set financial boundaries. You're afraid of being seen as ungrateful or selfish if you say no. You are torn between honoring traditional values and the need to protect your own small family in the present. This unconditional support can, at times, inadvertently create financial dependency back home, prolonging the cycle of hardship instead of breaking it. The painful question is, how much of our own future must we sacrifice to fulfill our filial duty? Habit 3. The cost of saving face. In our community, face has an invisible but immense power. There is intense social pressure to signal success, even when the financial reality doesn't allow for it. We often hear the term, broke in a Mercedes. It's the image of someone driving a luxury car, but working 7 days a week with less than $1,000 in their emergency fund. This pressure is most visible at large events, weddings, parties. Many families are willing to spend $50,000, even $100,000 on a wedding. Sometimes they have to borrow. A newly married couple begins their life together not with a honeymoon, but with a mountain of debt. Why? Because we are afraid of looking bad. Because we want to prove to the community that we have made it in this new country. But here is the consequence. We are confusing looking rich with being wealthy. This flex culture costs us enormous opportunity. We prioritize buying liabilities, things that lose value, instead of assets, things that make money. There's a great saying, maintaining face with money is the deepest form of poverty. We are sacrificing true financial freedom for the temporary admiration of others. Habit 4. The debt paradox. We Vietnamese tend to fear debt. In traditional culture, being in debt is shameful. This leads to a habit, using cash for everything, thinking it's safer. But in America and most Western countries, the financial system runs on credit. A credit score isn't just a number, it's a superpower. It determines whether you can access loans for a home or a car at favorable interest rates. When you avoid using credit, you become invisible to the system, and you end up paying more for everything. We fail to distinguish between bad debt, like high-interest credit card debt, and good debt, like a mortgage to buy an appreciating asset. Ironically, the fear of the formal system pushes many into high-risk, informal systems. We participate in ROSCAs, rotating savings and credit associations. While based on community trust, it has no legal protection. When the hui collapses, many families lose their entire life savings. Or worse, they borrow from loan sharks at predatory rates. We are afraid of regulated banks, but are willing to take financial risks that can destroy a family. It's a tragic paradox. Habit 5. The expensive silence. In many Vietnamese families, talking about money is taboo. It's considered impolite or a source of conflict. Spouses are often not fully transparent about finances with each other. Parents don't teach their children about money management. This silence allows dysfunctional financial habits to be passed down from one generation to the next. But the most dangerous silence is our avoidance of long-term planning. We are often superstitious. Talking about death or illness is bad luck. So, we procrastinate on buying life insurance or creating a will. We don't see these as risk management tools and acts of responsibility for those we leave behind. But the truth is, we cannot avoid risk by ignoring it. When the family's main provider suddenly passes away or becomes disabled without insurance, the entire family can spiral into an immediate crisis. They could lose their home. Their children's futures become uncertain. Silence is expensive. Failing to plan isn't preserving peace. It's gambling your family's future on chance. When we look back at these 5 habits, the most important thing to understand is this: our parents were not wrong. They did the best they could with the tools and knowledge they had in the historical context they lived through. Those habits were born from love, responsibility, and real pain. The foundation they built, diligence, frugality, resilience, is incredibly strong. Our job now is not to tear down that foundation. Our job is to perform a strategic upgrade. Imagine your family is an old house. The foundation is solid, but the structure above needs to be modernized so the house can provide sustainable prosperity for generations to come. Instead of just hoarding cash, we must shift to a growth mindset. Start investing in basic index funds and maximizing our 401ks. Instead of unconditional support, we must shift to strategic support. Instead of sending monthly cash, maybe we fund a specific educational course, pay for a critical health insurance policy for our parents, or provide directed seed capital for a business. And most importantly, we must learn to set boundaries, respectfully but firmly. Instead of conspicuous consumption, we practice stealth wealth. Focus on net worth, not on external symbols. Instead of fearing debt, we learn to build a strong credit score and use financial leverage intelligently. And instead of silence, we start open conversations. We buy life insurance and we write a will. Because that is the greatest act of love. This change is not easy. It requires the courage to have difficult conversations and to go against community pressure. But we are the bridge generation. The best way to honor the sacrifices of the previous generation is not to repeat their survival strategies, but to use the foundation they built to achieve true prosperity. When you think about your own family's financial history, what patterns do you see repeating? And how can you balance honoring the past while building your own future? Where does the duty to family end and the responsibility to the next generation begin? If this story resonated with you, if you saw your own family in it, please share your story in the comments. Let's learn and heal together. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue telling these deep, honest stories about the journey of Vietnamese and Asians abroad, searching for balance between 2 worlds. Thank you for listening